Good evening, everyone. My name is Noura Al-Kaabi, and I'm honored to moderate this session with such esteemed guests. Your Excellencies, leaders, thinkers, I think, and I believe this is an opportunity for us to discuss the future, the fourth IR, and the importance of the technology, the nanotechnology, the 3D printing, and how fast is the pace is. Last year, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum inaugurated the first 3D printing office in Dubai. And he mentioned during the inauguration that we implement what we plan and we pursue actions, not theories. The rapidly changing world requires us to accelerate. Our pace of development for history does not recognize our plans, but our achievements. As His Excellency Sultan Mansouri also mentioned, the speech of Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed during WEF is an important speech he mentioned after 50 years or maybe less than that. We are celebrating the last barrel of oil if we invested with the right human capital, and how are we also innovating in that. Today, we have a 20-minute session with my esteemed guest. We will start with questions, and our goal is prosperity in the future. Our goal is how can we face our current challenges with solutions. Let me start with question to His Excellency, Dr. Ibrahim Seif. It's an honor to have you here today. Jordanian Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources. And if I may start with a quote from your op-ed in 2014 in Jordan Times, speaking about the influx of the Syrian crisis and how we know that Jordan is a dear country that is also hosting such refugees, not only from the Syrian crisis, but prior to that with the Palestinians and so on. You said in your op-ed that the failure of international community to support Jordan with the burden of financing these investments will undoubtedly jeopardize hard-won development gains achieved over decades. So my question is, can the fourth industrial revolution technologies provide effective solutions that enable Jordan to tackle the refugee problem and provide them with better living conditions? On the other hand, can these technology provide a means for reducing energy consumptions and in turn reduce also energy costs, Your Excellency?
Well, thank you, and thank you for hosting me and for the organizer as well to give me the opportunity to address such a distinguished guest. Indeed, yes, Jordan has faced an enormous challenge in receiving the Syrian refugees, and it has, as I've just mentioned, undoubtedly has impacted the pace of development and growth in Jordan. But now, if we to take the words of here in His Royal Highness, is that in each challenge there is an opportunity as well. And now, how can you really adapt the conditions and the business environment in order to benefit from the influx of the refugees by also attracting the latest and the technology. They refer to this technology as disruptive, but it's also a very good means for enhancing productivity and increasing the competitiveness of the economy. And if we just to talk in general about the fourth industrial revolution, indeed, yes, there is an opportunity there, because if we to describe the manufacturing sector in general in Jordan, it's a traditional one. Now, how you can make this shift from the traditional into this new era where you can adopt the latest technology, I think this is where now the new talent, the youth, education, and I've heard actually what I wanted to say in the speeches by the Director General of the UNID or the Minister Mazroui when he mentioned that how we are going to revisit education and to reform and to equip the new generation on how to adapt this new technology in order to start gradually doing this evolutionary movement in the existing traditional manufacturing industry sector in Jordan.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And I believe in terms of, you mentioned youth and you mentioned training. And let me move to Mr. Joe in terms of also talking about recent affairs where you mentioned that America became great through immigrants. And you hope that this great country will recall what has made it great. And I believe that Siemens is also a place where it nourishes innovation and also believes in sustainability. Therefore, my question is, with regards to what also that relates to what His Excellency has been saying, with such a leading manufacturing organization, how can it contribute to building more independent world in which countries and companies can collaborate through a global value chain, to build a prosperous world in which opportunities are offered to everyone? Do you think that the private sector is more capable than the public sector, or they can work hand in hand?
Well, it's actually a series of questions you have been answering. First of all, let me congratulate you on this great event here in the UAE. Yet another time you show the world that you look years and decades ahead, as you have done 30 years ago when you said what's going to be the next generation of industrialization here in the UAE. So congratulations, and thank you for having me here today. If we talk about the next generation of manufacturing, I think it's fair to say it's going to change the world. It's changing the world because what we will be seeing, we'll have the real world, the physical world of manufacturing coming together with the virtual world of engineering and simulation and design. What that does to us and to manufacturing is basically that you can produce products at the cost of mass production for lot size 1. So you massively reduce the value chain and the cost. Second topic is, by simulating production when the manufacturing plant has not even been built yet, you actually foster innovation quite a lot. So that all helps to bring the cost down and enable other people to get the benefits of the world which they have not been receiving. So that's the great news and that's the great future. The only one thing we need to be very mindful about is that the next industrial revolution is going to kill millions of jobs. But it's going to create even more jobs. But then we need to be prepared that these jobs which get lost are different as to the ones which are being created. So we need to put a lot of emphasis to education, to training, as well as reskilling, so that people learn what's going to be next in manufacturing and engineering. So that's why it's so important, to put people on training and help them understand what matters in the next generation. And having said that, I believe we are having 460 manufacturing sites globally. And if we are able to put the new manufacturing technologies into all those manufacturing sites, we will actually see a productivity of about 30%, which is huge. So that again enables to bring the cost down. So what else will that do? It will change the business models. And one of the business models which will be massively changed is the services. There will not be central services anymore. Service can happen at any place at the same time, and that helps, decentralized manufacturing, and it helps your countries and others which have not been in the forefront of manufacturing yet. So a lot of opportunities, a lot of things which need to get done, and that's the place to get it started.
Thank you, Joe. Going to Mr. Niels here, who's the president of AIESEC and who focuses on training and in youth in most of what you do. I understand that you hope to one day redefine the means to be a billionaire, positively impacting the lives of 1 billion people. Can you just share with us that through the same thread that we're talking about? I mean, these are the challenges, and as Joe mentioned, there will be recreation of jobs. Jobs will be killed, and there is always that fear. And then again, there is the influx of refugees, and majority of them are youth. So we believe that we are now more and more for globalized work, technology connected, innovation is something that, as mentioned, can be decentralized and with a cheaper cost. Is what you're what you're providing, what you aim to do in your organization in such training programs? Do they cope with the pace? And are there projects that are looking into what's happening around us in the region?
Thank you, Your Excellency. Distinguished guests and everyone over here, it is truly an honor and a pleasure to be here, especially in a country that really walks the talk when they say they want to actually invest in youth and talk about youth. They actually bring youth to the center of everything that you're doing. So I'm extremely happy to be here. To answer your question, actually 1 year ago, I had the chance to run for president for AIESEC International. In that process, I told to the delegates in the room that I do want to be a billionaire. And you know, when you're running for president of an organization and you tell people that you want to be a billionaire, people look at you as like, what are you talking about?
There's a song, by the way.
That's the wrong thing. Like here we're talking about peace and fulfillment and humankind's potential and so on. And I'd say, wait a second, I'm not talking about becoming a billionaire from the perspective of having money. I'm talking about becoming a billionaire from the perspective of being able to impact 1 billion lives positively, because that is what the world needs, more billionaires from that perspective. And the question that they asked me in return was, so if you want to be a billionaire and you want to impact 1 billion lives positively, what are you doing with AIESEC? And that brings me to your question. I think so. As an organization, we are a product of 7 young people coming post the Second World War to realize that, you know, if we really want to stop another world war to happen, we need to be able to understand one another. We need to have cross-cultural understanding. We need to understand how business is done. We need to understand how trade is done. And together, once we actually understand one another, we can start trusting one another and start building a global economy that works for all. And so from that perspective, what the organization aims to do is to provide experiences for young people right now to bridge the gap between education and formal employment, because like we all know, at least in my case, I do feel the lack of certain skills that I am not getting from education to formal employment. And so what we want to do is bridge that gap by giving young people the chance to intern abroad, volunteer on the SDGs right now, and really get a sense of what it means to get skills that are not taught in a classroom. Right now, I see a lot of young people, especially in my team, looking for job opportunities. And 1 year out of university, your degree doesn't matter any longer because the world's changing so quick. But you know, with digitalization, I think one thing we need to realize is digitalization does not mean dehumanization, right? So from that perspective, also since we're talking about transformation here, one thing that I keep telling my organization is that if you really want to transform an organization, or in this case, an industry, you need to start by transforming your people. And so in my job, what I do is basically the young people, put them in the center of what we're doing and try to give them certain skills that help them be more employable in the future, but most importantly, not only equip them for the 4th Industrial Revolution, but actually equip them for a bigger revolution that I think the world needs right now, which is leadership.
And if may I continue in terms of what you said. Yeah. How do you see that the UAE establish a youth ministry, a ministry of youth and a youth minister? I mean, what do you think of this idea? You can be very...
Oh, I loved it. So this afternoon, I was actually sitting in the hotel room, and I started researching a little bit about the country and what's going on, and I came across Her Excellency's talk, the Minister of Youth, talking at an event and laying out her vision for young people in the future and young Emirati youth in the country. And to be able to know that there was a 22-year-old that was appointed as the Minister of Youth and focuses on skills and data to be able to understand what young people want, where the gap is, and how we as a government can actually fuel that and provide them with opportunities to learn, develop, and find opportunities for themselves is incredible. One of the examples is the youth circles that actually I'm very excited to be participating in tomorrow. And I think she's going to be there as well. I think that's a brilliant idea to just take dialogue from people that want to be listened to and people that just don't know where to go, and put them together in one room and have a conversation.
Well, definitely she's making...
Yeah. Is that what we do? So how many universities do we have? One in Dubai, one in Abu Dhabi?
We have many universities.
How many?
Too many universities.
So why don't we do the
Hundreds.
following? Why don't we do the following?
Yes.
You pick 5 universities in the UAE.
Okay.
We go to those 5 universities together. We talk to young people, and I give you 100 million worth of grants, euro, not 100 million worth of grants.
We have a commitment.
And we'll do next generation simulation together.
Wonderful.
With software and with brainware. It's called
Wonderful.
Mind
Thank you.
Sphere. Is that all right?
That's awesome. I think my organization would be happy to.
5 universities,
Done.
100 million euro grant for software simulation and leadership training. All right?
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Very
That's
good.
amazing. And I believe this is where.
That's amazing.
Thank you. And this exactly. Thank you. And this exactly reflects how this stage should be, and this place should be a place of opportunities with the support of leaders like you, and people will action what will happen, what
Okay,
came out
deal?
with this.
That's a deal.
Thank you.
That's a
Wonderful.
deal.
Shake hands.
All right.
Your Excellency, in the Arab world, are we ready to export knowledge? Or we need Arabs to be in this region and maybe be in part of the panels that Joe and Niels were
Well,
part of?
I'll be very frank with you, and I don't think that the region in general is ready to export knowledge, because you want to produce knowledge before you export knowledge. You need to produce it, and you need to adapt it, and then you start. But can we be creative? If I just want to take one step back, can this region be creative?
Yeah.
Can be innovative? Can we adapt the new technologies? Can we prepare, this new coming generations to be real part and engaging part of this world through our education system, through revisiting the curriculum of our schools and our universities? Definitely the answer is yes. Definitely the answer is yes. And the focus on research and innovation is something I think that we're lacking in the region, and I think this is an area, and you touched on an area. I am originally a researcher. I am not a politician, so I love this. And I loved it. I get very excited to hear that there is someone, that is willing to take such initiative and move forward with it and take these young generations, because we have, as you may know, more than 100 million that seeking jobs, seeking training, seeking to be engaged and to avoid any radicalization on other areas. This is the only way we can put them on the main, on the right track, and just get them being part of this world. Because the danger of this new technology, the danger of this rapid changing in the world is that many people will feel like left behind with no tools, and they are not equipped to adapt to this new technologies and new changes.
And I think
not that they don't want it, but they cannot.
It's the reskilling. It's the reskilling, and who will bridge that?
Absolutely. So this is where
It's very important.
Yeah.
they want to do it, but they need the tools to do it. And here is, a private-public partnership, a real one, can help in that.
Absolutely. And if I may add, that will help me to conclude even the session with a very positive note with the initiative that Mr. Joe just announced. And I think that is a statement or a testimony of how engaging youth from the beginning and talking with them is so important. Having those youth circles, would love to have it reflected in other nations as well, and even in refugee camps. I believe there will be an opportunity, for prosperity when we talk about that. Therefore, I would like to conclude our session. Thank you so much for being here. I'm inspired. I'm sure the others, the leaders here are inspired, and the thinkers are inspired, and I hope for more great outcomes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.